I gotta go to sleep. And she was just like,
Did she
it was
fall
just,
off and go
no, she
literally go
just
to sleep?
like when it was over, it was suddenly over. But until it was, she was fun, funny, crazy, of course, but also, you know, I don't know if she's winking at the craziness. She knows I am, and then she laughs. So she must, one of her personalities knows that her other one is a joke. And so it was fantastic. I loved it, and I love her. But um, there was someone who got into trouble because she watched Fox News, and she got swirled in to this worldview and this, and she's a, you know, she has never met a conspiracy theory she doesn't love.
That's what I you know, as much as I knew her or didn't know her, I didn't realize how deep she was into all of that.
But by her own, excuse me, by her own admission, she was in a car accident, a bad one.
Right. I forget about that.
Yes. Well, and she had, and she, I was just saying she bumped her head very badly. And, you know, she has not been exactly, you know, compos mentis 100% since that.
All right. So maybe there was some damage.
There was. And,
Okay.
you know, she's, you know, she deserves a lot of credit for all she's accomplished with that as a albatross around her neck to it.
Is that as a baseline
above her
sort of?
neck? But yes.
Well, the show, I mean, the original Roseanne was one of the most brilliant things.
Well, you were on it, right?
I know, and it was like to watch her
right
in her métier.
You know, I was on it one week.
Was I there?
I believe you were, but only for like a few lines, maybe.
Yeah.
I played a boudoir photographer. She wanted to spice up the marriage by having boudoir photographs taken.
That's insane. I love that she came to you for that.
She's great with that. You know, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, she cast that show to perfection.
Well, they just gave me that job because they knew I was struggling. Like,
You were struggling that recently?
Recently, this is like 1990.
Okay, well, I always remember you from the get-go of being successful at that point.
Absolutely not. I mean, I came out here in '83. I was doing The Tonight Show. I got on a...
What were you writing on The Tonight Show?
No, I was being a little chimp for 6 minutes, you know. Here are my 6 minutes of jokes.
Oh, okay.
That was fantastic. You're great, funny stuff. We can all relate to that. That's Bill Maher. He's going to be...
You do good impressions.
Jeff Steinfeld. That's what he called Jerry the first time he booked.
Jeff Steinfeld?
Isn't that perfect? He's funny. It works at all the comedy stores. Jeff Steinfeld.
Hysterical.
I know. But what are we talking about?
You're talking about how Roseanne
gave
you a gig.
Absolutely. And also my very first episode of Politically Incorrect. Yeah. That show, which you helped make famous with your spat with that guy.
Oh my God. It was
literally a spat.
I spat at him. And
or so they said. I've never even saw it.
I just got
We watched it like there's a Zapruder film. I couldn't see the spit.
I didn't, well, I think I was just so completely fucking outraged.
It helped us. We were a brand new show on a brand new network, and there was like it was like, you know, this is before social media, but there was like, because it was you, this viral buzz about like, oh, wow, you got to watch this show. It's not just like the other talk shows. They spit on each other. But that was the idea of the show, was to cast...
Oh, it was brilliant.
...mismatched people. So
it's absolutely brilliant.
Sandra Bernard with the preacher dude, there's going to be some spitting.
There's going to be... Woo!
There's more spitting.
Because he started like weighing in about what you know, Judaism, and that's what put me over the fucking edge.
Yeah, whatever it was.
No, wait a minute. Is your mom Jewish or your dad?
Yes. I mean, I always say Jewish because
Ish.
I never found out that she even was until I was 13. She didn't go to church with us, but I never questioned it. And then, I mean, I've never been in a temple. She's never been in a temple, but culturally they were Jewish, yes.
So your mom grew up, her parents were Jewish.
Her father left immediately, so she had a single mom. I don't think religion was like
No. I'm not. No, I just mean the blood of Jews.
the blood of Jews.
Blood of Jews ran through you and her and your grandparents.
I guess so. Yes.
Is your mom still living?
No, she'd be as old as your father.
Yeah. Okay.
At least they'd be age appropriate.
My mother's not living either, sadly. But yeah.
Your mother what?
My mother, as well, is no longer living, sadly. But my father was way outlived her.
But you parted ways with your mother on great terms.
Oh, the best.
Right.
She was unbelievable.
How old did she live to?
92.
That's pretty good.
It is good.
No, my mother was an only child from, like, this was way ahead of her time. The father left, like, when my mother was an infant. So
your grandparents.
My grandmother.
Yeah.
And so she raised my mother, but with, it was one of those, it takes a village.
Yeah.
The family, the grandparents.
Of
this
course.
is much more common these days than it was then. And the father just took off, and she never really knew him. So.
Know about your dad? What did he do?
He was very, that was Irish Catholic,
Really?
Oh, yeah. Maher is a very Irish name.
Oh,
I mean, my grandfather, who I never met, he was dead before I was born, but he had a brogue.
Wow.
I mean, he spoke
so he came over from...
No. But the Irish, he was not the first one here. I think that was the generation before. Yeah. But he had the brogue.
It just came with the territory.
Well, the Irish, things were very clannish. They were like all.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was always just like they were around.
They were all the cops. That cliche of
the firemen.
O'Malley on the corner with your big shillelagh. That, and the firemen, right, and the Pauls, and my grandfather was that. He was the head of the boatsmen's union.
Where was this?
This is New York.
Oh, and did you grow up in New York?
I did. I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay.
Suburb. And
do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister. Yeah. But
close,
when I lived
close to her?
Yeah, I think we're pretty close. But when I lived in New York, when I knew you, I mean, that was always I was a little Tony Manero in Saturday Night Fever. The guy across the river in the borough who's looking to Manhattan as the place. If I could just get to Manhattan, at least I'll be in the place where the cool people are and the things are happening. And so, like, moving to New York, to Manhattan, into my rat hole.
Where was your first apartment?
Oh, my God. Well, first I lived in a rent-free situation.
Of course.
It was a big fucking... penthouse apartment on the east side, and I lived in the maid's room, which was about as big as where we're sitting here. The bed came out of the wall.
A Murphy bed.
And so I lived there rent-free in exchange for what I had to do.
Which was?
I was basically the au pair, and I hate children. I was like...
You took care of children?
I know.
Jesus
Christ. You do what you have to do.
I just got a heart palpitation.
I know.
Oh, my God. That is the funniest damn thing I've ever heard in my life.
It really is.
What did you do with kids? How old were they?
There was twins and then an older one, and I took them to school in the morning.
Okay, well, that I can see you being able to accomplish that.
I rode on the bus with them, and then I'd go home and sleep because I was up all night at the clubs.
Right.
And then I would have to get up and pick them up from school, take them to their stupid after-school whatever shit they did.
Yeah, their after-school activities.
Yes. And then I was supposed to speak French to them. That didn't work out too well, but
with an Irish brogue. Wait a minute. Do these kids know about this? Are you in touch with them?
No, that was one.
I think this should be some sort of a special. By the way, Bill Maher was your nanny. That would be a wake-up call. How old do you think these kids are now?
Oh, I can tell you exactly how old they were.
How old?
Okay, so...
It was 83?
No, 83 is when I moved out here. This was 79, my first year in
Oh, shit, so they're like...
Yeah.
They're in their 40s.
Well, I mean...
Wait a minute, maybe...
They were like...
Maybe you can date one of them. Too old. Too old.
Way too old. And they were boys.
Oh, I thought there was...
The
Oh, there's one
twins
girl.
were, I would say the twins were 7 and the older one was 10. So he was born in 1969. So he's 31 plus 24. He's
45.
55.
Oh, 55. You're right. Wait a minute. How did you get this gig? What parent did you know?
David Remnick. Yes.
David Remnick?
Could I finish? David Remnick, yes, that David Remnick was a friend of my friend, suggested I look in the back pages of the Village Voice for rent-free situations. I went on one and it took me, I was so naive, it took me an hour to realize it was an old queen. And
I don't know. There's a toss-up. Old queen, 3 kids. I don't know, Bill.
No, not this one. This is the first one I went on. There was an old queen.
No, I'm kidding.
I see.
I'm saying what would have been a more appropriate setting for you. Roommates with an old queen and with you carping and bitching like, the odd couple, or taking care of 3 children.
Well, he would have wanted blowjobs.
Oh, okay. So there was like
I mean, I finally caught the hint, But then I saw this one, and I talked my way into this one. And then my girlfriend at the time, who was in Israel, she was a linguistics major, and this is right after college, she would come back for like a month at a time and live with me in that little shoebox of a place. And I had to tell them it was my wife. Neither one of us had rings, so it wasn't.
Care? I mean,
this was 1979.
But they were using you, an unknown quantity, a stranger.
Right.
And they were so cheap they couldn't fucking pay and hire a real Did they pay you as well? It was just free rent?
And food, but I didn't like her cooking.
Oh, you had to eat the cooking, the woman, the mother?
Not with them, but my little cubbyhole was off the kitchen. And I lived these different hours. One of the things I did was I bought the next day's New York Times. They would leave a quarter out for me. A quarter it was. How quaint. And when I was coming home, walking home from Catch, it was
you'd pick up the
correct, because newsstands were open 24/7. So
that's when I knew you then.
Right. That's right.
It would have been a little difficult for us to have a moment at the house. Well, first place, you had a girlfriend.
Right.
Second of all, like we would have like woken up in a.
Were you there in '79?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I used to come to New York because I'd already done a couple of smaller films, and I'd come to New York and usually stay with my friend Marge Gross. Remember Marge?
Marjorie Gross died of cancer.
Yes. Sadly, heartbreaking.
Part of the 40 wave.
She was fucking funny. Marge.
Oh my God. Remember her opening line? Isn't it amazing what humidity does to straight blonde hair?
That is the best. Oh my God.
And you're into it.
She was. Anyway, I would stay, actually, where she would live part of the time was in Larry David's rent. That they had the actors' housing.
That big apartment.
Okay, so I would stay there. I don't know where he was. Maybe he was in California. We'd crash at Larry David's place in the actors' building.
Right, where
we had so much fun.
And the person across the hall was Kramer. That's crazy. The person who was Kramer was based on.
Who was based on?
Yeah, there was a real Kramer.
Well.
No, that building, Jim Valley lived there also. That was that. What did they call it? It was something.
Remember.
What it was government subsidized
for actors.
The arts, yes.
Yes.
And so comedians.
Imagine.
What I can imagine is that I was too stupid to get in on that, which others were clever enough to get in on.
I can't believe you didn't.
Oh no,
It was like a dormitory. You know what I mean? It was like. Basic apartments.
These were nice apartments because they were government subsidized.
That's true. They were
It was somebody pushed through a bill because something, blah, blah. We have to help the arts. And so next thing you know, comedians wound up with really nice apartments. And I was living on 8th Avenue above a bus stop. That was my main apartment in New York for 3 years.
8th Avenue?
Oh.
Where?
55th.
Oh. Oh, you poor thing. I mean... listen, you deserve all the success in the world. If you had to live in that fucking part of town, Hell's Kitchen.
I also lived in Spanish Harlem.
Back then, it was rough.
Yeah, it was. I was so poor that they left me
How
alone.
poor were you?
I was so poor.
Oh, it's so poor.
I was so
I
poor.
can't think of a joke. I mean,
I was so poor. The criminals left me alone. I mean, that's really kind of true. But that apartment was really rough. No shower.
Went down the hallway.
No, it was a tub in the kitchen,
Oh,
and with an attachment, and
but you weren't. But you weren't into any attachments, so that must have been very hard for you. Even I'm so unattached. I don't even want to attach something to my bathtub.
no, you make it sound like I'm heartless.
I would never. I respect you. I don't know. I don't really know how you operate or how you have operated. This is the most time we've spent together.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to speak in that general.
In this way.
I'm going to speak in that.
We never got around to the generalities.
Let's do it.
I could have left her and still not known.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Go. Get it on. 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 Ow!
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a badly designed system. I'm talking about romantic entanglements, at least the way we do it. Because anytime you see somebody every day, you're going to ruin it. I mean, not completely, and people find ways around it.
Yeah.
But there's no way. Nobody in the world is that interesting. Nobody is that sexy. Nobody is that anything that you can just do it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade, century after century. Okay.
Millennial after millennium.
Yeah, right. And this is what people don't want to admit or say or pretend isn't true. But of course, I will do it, and I will take one for the team and just say that's the truth. So the secret is to somehow find a way to have continuity without like that over the top constancy that makes everything numb. So that's my generality, and how you figure out how to do that is up to you. But that's what you have to do. Some people say, he travels a lot, so we don't see each other that much, and things like that can help.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you have to really build something into the system so that maybe there's no reason maybe why you're not seeing something every day, but it's better to miss them. It's better to miss them for most of the time than be over them all of the time. And
the quarter of a century.
Just pretend that they're like a war correspondent and they're gone. Oh, and then they come home and it's like, oh my God, you lived through the war again and we're together.
It's amazing.
Oh, and you got to leave again in another.
So that said, how often a week?
Well, again, we speak in generalities.
All right. Okay. So generally, if you're with a person you're with right now, how often do you hang out?
Maybe you don't even live in the same city. Maybe you don't even live in the same city.
So maybe you don't live in the same city.
Maybe you don't.
Okay. Enough said.
I mean,
you don't want to go there. I respect you for it. I don't have any truck with that. I don't give a fuck.
Good, of course.
I never have.
No,
I'm open to as long as you said it, as long as people don't hurt each other.
Do you remember the Woody Allen movie? The title was Whatever Works.
Yeah, I think that was one of his lesser offerings.
Actually, I thought it was one of his more.
Which
Larry
one?
David played Woody Allen.
Okay, let me talk to you about that movie. I had a part in it. The only time I ever got called by Woody Allen to be in a fucking movie. And I worked for one day. He that night wrote me an email and said, I apologize. I miscast you. It's all on me. And I am terribly sorry.
And replaced the role?
Yes, replaced me.
We're the one that Larry David...
That fell out of the window on.
I don't remember the movie that close.
Okay, well, isn't that funny, though?
That is funny.
So maybe I don't have the warmest feelings about that movie?
Right.
And I was like, now you're casting me in something? And the character had 2 casts on her legs and a cast on her arm. She was replaced by an actress who I happen to really like, and I can't think of her name right now, but she was so much better. I'm not a Woody Allen type. He likes and like Diane Keaton, they're kind of like, they're like this. And And they bump into walls and like, and then
Yeah, they do.
it's like me.
Right.
We were never gonna. We were never.
Exactly. You're so right.
We were never. Mia Farrow,
Okay.
the same thing.
Yes.
Hapless. Brilliant, but hapless.
You're right. Hapless.
He
is
likes
the
hapless women.
right. But okay, so there's a number of people who have done the stand-in for him. Also, actors like,
Of course.
I mean, like
Every one of
Kenneth
them.
Branagh did it.
Yeah.
Who's this?
But so many have done it.
Right. So many.
So many have done it. Some of them better than others. But they
Okay,
but he writes the parts so that they have his vocal cadence.
But my point is, Larry David was the one who kind of was appropriate for standing in for Woody Allen. They're both from Brooklyn. They both are. There is a, I feel, thread from one of their comedies.
But he's so not like anything like Woody Allen, Larry.
But I felt he pulled off doing the Woody dialogue in a way that was very naturalistic. Because
maybe, but it doesn't matter, because at a certain point,
well,
I mean,
but I mean, the subtext of the movie, of course, it kind of well, I mean, he was roundly criticized for eventually marrying, but at the time just dating his girlfriend's adopted daughter.
Well, Soon-Yi was there on the set. So I decided I was just going to lay in the hospital bed because they had these fake casts on me. I thought, I don't want to take all this shit off and do it. So he comes in with Soon-Yi, and I'm laying in a hospital bed, and he doesn't even introduce Soon-Yi to me, and he barely said 2 words to me. I was like, what is this shit? I don't even get to meet Soon-Yi.
You know, I don't want to make this comparison, but I'm going to. Maybe I shouldn't. But if you watch the Beatles documentary about Let It Be, John Lennon treats Yoko the same way. It's like, we heard that Yoko broke up the Beatles. He never even looks at her. No, I mean, the whole thing is between Lennon and McCartney. If you watch it, I mean,
a love affair.
A real love affair that was still going on in 1969, plainly. And Yoko is just like, I'm sorry, but she's just there.
She's just there. I mean, I know. But anyway, it's just so funny you brought that film up.
Right.
Out of all the films.
Well, because...
And then I was cut out of it. It's better, believe me. I was so wrong for the role.
Well, I really was just reminded of the title and the concept that in love affairs, whatever works.
Yeah.
Mostly. And I even defend Soon-Yi because, people, he married his daughter. He did not marry his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She was not his daughter. In her own words, she once said, yeah, it's a little offbeat. I mean, but, love kind of is where you find it. I don't know.
I gotta draw the line there a little bit. It's like Woody Allen has his choice of a lot of prospects. It's a little funky. He was a father figure. He was.
No, he was barely there. He was a
shitty father figure, but he was a.
He was not. He talks about that in his book, which is brilliant. Apropos of Nothing. Have you ever read it?
I have not read it.
Okay, I know you have a thing, but
No. Honestly, I don't have a thing.
You would love this.
I'm kidding. I grew up on Woody Allen, and it's.
You'd love this book. You really would.
Listen, for whatever, you can't take away the years and years of brilliant movies that Woody Allen has made. I mean, there are moments in it that you look at and go, well, that was a little tawdry, but nonetheless.
Yes, but when the subject is Woody Allen, I always have to say, lots of bad ones. Lots of ones that just didn't work. And I think he kind of feels the same way.
Wait, lots of
bad ones, just bad movies.
Oh.
Like movies that just bad.
Absolutely. But I'm talking about the early. I'm talking about the early years.
But he did. Yes, the early years. But he did so many movies that if you just take out the bad ones, it was like, wow, he's still got like 20 great ones.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't think so. He said, he has said, I don't think I've ever made a great movie. I beg to differ. You've made many, many great movies. he just works a lot. He does. I mean, that's his thing. He's
Well, also, I mean, the discipline we should all have.
right.
to
2 movies every year.
To sit down and write.
Right.
I don't know about
But
you,
that's the
but
bad. But
I
that's the
don't have
bad
that.
side of that. When you're like, every year I do 2 movies.
There's
It's
no
just like
friggin' way you're gonna do endless.
it's a little
way.
right.
No.
But we all have to be. We're all just.
We're all just human, and we're all full of foibles and mistakes.
Well,
and
we're all slaves to our personalities that we were born with. He's the kind of guy who needs to do exactly the same thing every day. And in the spring and in the fall, I shoot the movie. And in the summer and the winter, I write the movie. And I get up at 8 o'clock and I do this. And
he eats cornflakes every day.
yeah, whatever it is.
No, it's just another.
No, I'm just saying we all have our things that are programmed into us, and then it's out. So,
I would like to. I would only hope and wish that the other 50% of humanity was as disciplined and had something
right. Oh,
that they got up every day and wanted to do with that passion. And I think that's the biggest fucking problem with our world. People have either had it beaten out of them, they never had the opportunity to even have the time to discover something they loved, or they just don't care.
I mean, in his case, I mean, but first of all, just read this book. Just as a writer,
I will.
It's just only because you'll laugh. It's and also he goes back to like the 50s, that whole thing with on your show of shows when it was that giant 1927 Yankees lineup of writers on the same show, Mel Brooks, and I can't remember all the
probably
Doc Simon, Neil Simon,
Jesus.
which when
we were believe that.
What? Neil Simon?
Just those people, but
all on the same show. Not even remember Mel Brooks, Neil Simon, Woody Allen. I mean, just right there, that's pretty crazy. But there were others, yeah. I mean, I must say, when I've watched those shows from the 50s, I find them to be horrible, not funny at all.
Well, that's the problem. But they were great writers who went on to do other great things.
I just think comedy doesn't translate through the ages.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
You're absolutely correct.
I
mean, it's like watching, the Marx Brothers.
Occasionally, yeah.
I mean, you're like,
and they translate.
Stop, please stop. I can't watch them. Killing me. I'm so bored. This isn't. People who love the Marx Brothers now, I'm always like, you don't love the fucking Marx Brothers. That is such bullshit.
Well, if you just took the best 3 minutes, you could. I mean, Groucho does get off some good one-liners, but you'd have to cut it way down. I agree. The whole movie is hard to get through.
Oh my God! It's a lot of the comedy writers who went to Harvard. The intellectual ones that love the Marx. They claim they love the Marx Brothers.
Well, S.J. Perelman wrote a lot of the Marx Brothers movies.
Okay, well.
Well, I mean, he's one of the great American humorists, and he's amazing.
I'm not saying they didn't have merit.
No, they had.
But like you said.
I take your point.
But you just said it, so I'm reiterating. I'm using that as an example.
Let me tell you something.
No, I can't sit and watch the fucking Marx Brothers, or I'll go bananas.
I've been rewatching a lot of the classics lately, like The Godfather, The Godfather.
Okay, well, that's different.
Yeah. No,
drama is one thing, comedy's another.
I may have wanted to introduce these films to someone who wasn't age appropriate.
Okay, well, that's fun.
Yeah. So one film we watched was called Giant.
Yeah, of course.
I had never seen it, and I always heard it was this classic.
How was it? How does it hold up? I haven't watched it.
I thought it was horrible.
Okay.
I mean,
melodramatic. Putting it mildly.
And long.
Yeah.
Really long, and it's about Rock Hudson is at the peak of his rockness, and he's super hot, and Elizabeth Taylor is the what?
Gorgeous.
I never thought so, but I get that.
Is she not your type?
Not really. There are lots of things about her. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think she had a good body at all. Richard Burton used to make fun of it. No, squat. No, squat.
Thank you, Richard. We really appreciate that. Since you were a fine physical specimen yourself, I mean.
Pockmarked old British actor.
But yet the two of
And here I
them.
am with the most beautiful woman in the world. Must be my acting.
Did you do characters
No.
in your act? I don't remember that, but
No, and
you
I
might have found a second calling.
No, and I don't do them now, but I'm just saying.
And yet,
But
you're blowing my mind.
I didn't think. I mean, he's a rancher. He owns a ranch in Texas, like that's the size of Rhode Island or some shit like that. And he visits her and her family somewhere. Anyway, he marries her overnight. Like, that's all you have to know about these two. Is like, this is how much this is a connection.
That constantly happened in movies. People were always marrying overnight.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, okay. So then they're on the train. She's taking her back to Texas, and now she's going to be this Maryland girl in Texas. So it's a fish out of water, and also I guess it was considered a big movie because it was one of the first, I guess, to address racism because the Mexicans who work the land and the ranch.
Yes.
He's not properly sensitive to.
He's not sympathetic.
No,
the plight of the Mexican farm workers.
So it's very un-PC. And she's ahead of her time there and sticking up for the Mexicans and getting the medical care and Obamacare. She brings in Kamala Harris to make a speech. It's just ridiculous. But it's like, it's one of those that goes through time. So you see them age. So they're very...
Oh, yeah. It's terrible.
So now they're like...
oh, yes, I remember. I have watched bits and pieces of it recently. I was like, the worst hair and makeup I've ever seen.
Put the gray...
A spray can of gray and bad, like they just take like a pencil and make the wrinkles, lines, deep furrowed lines with a pencil.
Yeah. Exactly.
A lead number 2 pencil. Yeah. Just come here.
Yeah.
Who was the makeup artist back there? Was his name Dick somebody? I don't know. You know, the makeup artist from that time. I'm telling you.
I'm sure Edith Head did the wardrobe.
Edith Head.
You're funny is what you are.
Well, you blew it. What was the club again?
Garvin's in Washington.
Didn't we stay at that hotel? It was a nice hotel.
The Shoreham. No, I know. That was the first year. We stayed in a great hotel that was way above what we usually got. They just got a rate.
You know what happened?
Because it was walkable.
I stayed there a couple extra days, and they locked me out of my room.
I don't blame them.
Because they kept saying, that I hadn't laid down my own credit card for the extra nights. I was like, so I had to broker a deal. It was a whole fucking shit show.
Because I was bitter about being rejected. I'm the one who put them up to that. Okay. After all these years, it got that.
Truth is out.
It has to come out.
Truth is out.
Really why I wanted you here.
You know, but maybe it was all for the best. Maybe if we had connected in that way, we wouldn't have stayed estranged friends. Because where else we've been estranged for fucking years.
No, we would never been estranged. We just never got there. We're on different tracks.
Would have been interesting.
Hey, but this is like when it was meant.
See? But, you know, when you think about it, it's like, oh my God, can you imagine sitting here now, had we done it, thinking about remembering how it was?
I'm not the cosmic type, but things, they happen when they happen. I wouldn't ever say they're meant to happen, but it's almost like a pleasure that some things happen. We saved it for now. And we have time left. It's like in the Beatles documentary, George says a great thing about Ringo, who, you know, the crowd hated at first because they fired their old drummer. How could you get rid of Pete Best? And George says, Ringo was always in the Beatles. It was just, that was his entrance time. That was when his moment was to walk on the stage. Right. It was in Act 3. It wasn't in Act 1, but it was always meant to be because he was Mr. Spiritual. Yeah. And it's like that. Some things, you know, hey, like my high school yearbook says, you get to know the good people at the end. So when was the first time you encountered like any kind of sex? High school?
Yes, no, probably just like right on the sort of the tail end of grade school going into high school. I fooled around with a young boy who I had a crush on. I think he touched me down there. I was like, don't ask. I was like very young. So, but it wasn't like, he was the same age as me. It wasn't like, I wasn't like right. Oh my God, this kid is like, you know, it was consensual.
Yeah. I'm not fishing for
No,
like
no, no, no. But I'm just I don't have like trauma in my life. You know, I'm lucky.
Well, you do. Your father.
Eh,
Are you kidding? A lot of. Well, that's look.
I don't. I have resolved everything with my father. God forbid when he dies, I will cry. It will bring things up. But I don't. I've tried to mend fences with him. He's still not nice. I still don't like the way he talks about certain people.
How old is your kid?
She'll be 26.
So she doesn't know her grandfather.
She has met him and she didn't like him.
Right. To no one's surprise.
She was very instinctive.
Right.
She was like,
But she doesn't.
creepy.
It's not feel. She doesn't feel like that's something missing in her life. She didn't have
at all.
Yeah, of course.
Not
I mean,
in the least.
I liked my grandmother, my mother's mother. She was okay. I mean, she was cool. I could kind of tell she was a hip lady. But like the guy she remarried, Grandpa, I thought he was a corny guy. I could have easily never met him and be fine. And then on my father's side, I mean, his father was long dead. And Grandma Maher, I mean, she was, like the old Irish lady. She was like, white hair and looked like George Washington. Just like, I don't feel like there was anything
There was no
to that
connection.
relationship.
There was
at
no
all.
connection.
I don't feel like, I can't remember anything. The thing I ever remember about her was when she was sitting on the lawn. I guess she was babysitting on our front lawn, and I was throwing a hard ball way up in the air and catching it, and I lost one of them, and it came down and it missed
It hit her?
No, it would have killed her, but it missed her head by about a foot.
Oh, shit.
I just remember my heart pounding out. But that's like the only thing I remember about her, and so I don't feel like, I know some people get very close to the grandparents.
I was very close with my mother's parents. They came from the old country, from a shtetl,
What?
2 different shtetls.
In Russia?
Yes.
Russia?
Yes.
Holy, I didn't know
Oh,
you were
yeah.
that.
My grandparents came over the turn of the last century, and 2 brothers married 2 sisters.
Were they fleeing a pogrom?
Absolutely.
They were.
Yeah. The
You-
Cossacks were riding through.
You feel that flowing through your veins?
Abs-
Because,
But I'll tell you something. I am not, everybody's like up in arms now about being Jewish. Suddenly everybody's discovered their Judaism. It's like, I grew up Jewish. I was bat mitzvahed. I went to Hebrew school. I did the whole thing. I like being Jewish, and I go to Shabbat. I do my thing. But everybody's suddenly like, I'm Jewish, and I'm being. I don't feel persecuted.
Well, not persecuted perhaps, but there is an anti-Semitism afoot in this country that we haven't had in a very long
Well,
time. And I never thought I'd see the day.
I tell you where it comes from. It comes from the right wing, the extreme.
No, it doesn't.
You think it's left. You think it's from the left.
Well, there is anti-Semitism on both sides. The right wing has the Jews will not replace us nonsense. Right. The left wing is even worse.
What?
That is coming down from elite colleges who see everything only through a racial lens. They are stupid. They don't know history. They think everything is about colonizers and racists and how awful America is. And America has done some bad things, but to drag Israel into this as the stand-in for everything bad thing white people ever did, this is not any more complicated to most of these college kids than the Palestinians are brown and poor, and the Israelis are rich and white, even though half of them are not rich and certainly not not white and certainly not half rich.
Yeah.
But they think they're rich and white, so they're the colonizers and the apartheid people and the genocide people, and none of this jives with the facts.
But can we get on the same?
With the facts.
Can we get on the same page and agree that Benjamin Netanyahu is a shit disturber and needs to be yanked out of Israel? He is not good for Israel. He is not good for Jews. He has also contributed to the global mistrust. And it's not shouldn't be Jews, it's Israelis. But even Israelis aren't to blame. He is solidly to blame for everything that's happening right now.
He is so not to blame for everything that's happening. That's the fault of the Palestinian people and the religion of Islam, which gets lost in all of this. I mean, we are fighting.
Wait. What?
Islam, you've heard of it?
No, but I'm saying no. But how is that? What does that have to do with?
You said Netanyahu was mostly to blame. Mostly to blame is Hamas.
For what is happening right now.
Right now is happening because for years, Hamas took aid money and instead of buying food with it and building buildings and hospitals, they bought bombs and made tunnels.
Who supported Hamas?
Correct. Yes, you're right. For strategic reasons, which probably were, in retrospect, not wrong. But it wasn't like Netanyahu was working against the interest in his mind of his own people. I know they say
he's working in the interest of only one person, himself, because he doesn't want to go to prison.
I don't believe that either. But it's a moot point because
we were having such a sexy conversation.
It's a moot point because Netanyahu he's not long for the job. But what everyone who's been to Israel will tell you, my dear, is that even when he goes, the Israelis are completely for the policy. That will not change. So yes, they don't like him, and there are good reasons for that, I agree. But the policy will not change. They want Hamas eliminated.
I agree. I know.
Okay, well, that's it.
But Hamas never should have had the power they had.
Correct.
He enabled them.
Yes, you're right.
Let's leave it there.
And even worse.
I don't want to end this fabulous.
I'll tell you the worst.
Rapprochement.
The worst thing.
And love affair that has been overridden for years.
First of all,
talking about Israel.
Just because we don't agree exactly on something doesn't in any way taint our love, right?
You see now, but it might create a situation where we won't want to talk for a couple of years. We don't have that kind of time to waste.
No, we don't. We don't. We're like,
I don't want to wind this conversation up or down on this very hot,
I'm gonna wind
uncomfortable,
I'm gonna wind it up.
Pita of a conversation.
I wind it up. I'm just gonna say one more thing.
I'm gonna jam a pita with you.
Netanyahu's biggest sin is that the attack happened under his watch. He was Mr. Security.
But they also knew they were forewarned.
Okay, but that's the biggest one. You can't.
Israel would never have let this happen under anybody else's watch. This was
whatever it was.
It was like
you can't talk your way.
That this happened.
It can't.
I was in Israel when the Yom Kippur War broke out. I
73?
Yes. I went to Israel after.
You were 17?
I was 17. I went to Israel. I worked on a kibbutz for 8 months. I went to Greece for a month. The Yom Kippur War broke out. I flew back into Israel in the middle of the night and spent another month on the kibbutz working.
Was there some revolutionary love in the air? Was there some socialist?
There was from all over the world. Every volunteer on the kibbutz was from Sweden, Australia, UK, South Africa, America. We had the best. It was the best fucking time I've ever had in my life.
And you fell in love with one of them?
Not really. I just had lots of fun. Some Israelis, some Americans. It was next level.
All right. Well, I'm sure I can't match that in the future, but I'll do my best. So
Eretz Israel, honey.
I take your hand.
Hi, Victor.
I could talk to you forever, but
Melech Israel. Hi,
wait,
Victor.
Before you go, do you want to plug something, or don't you have a documentary coming out?
Well, I'm a part of some documentary about.
Tell me about it.
Well, I did this. Honestly,
no,
I don't want to.
Great.
I just want to be here in the moment.
I had the greatest time.
Oh my God! I have to stretch. I'm uncomfortable. Love you, baby.
Love you too.
A kiss on the lips.
My God.
Might be
40
continental.
40 years in the making. How you doing?
Good to see you. Thanks for the invitation.
You look so good. I can't tell you how much to me, as we get older, of course, means more. That is the lead story, is that someone who I didn't know if we were going to have, you look so hale. You look like it might have been good for you. I knew someone once who, the house was burning and she ran in to get her kids. And whatever the fire did, it's like her skin was perfect. I always kid her about it.
Yeah, seems like a rough way to get good skin tone. Yeah, well, sometimes you can emerge, if not improved, at least somewhat unscathed.
I'm on Substack now.
Yeah, I heard.
Go to
Tell me about that.
Thank you, Ed. Go to billmaher.substack.com. Quentin Part 2 is our first exclusive episode. Oh, yeah, this is extras, and you'll get much more. And the Peterson Academy. If you want an actual education, join up. And if you just want an education like I do, because I want to hear somebody who's brilliant, you know, I don't have to tell you where you can get Jordan Peterson. And you feel good?
Not bad.
You feel
Not
like you're
bad.
all over that?
No.
No?
No. I have a lot of pain.
You do?
Mm-hmm. But not compared to what I did have. So, you know, there's
I
that.
know-
And my head's clear.
I know a lot of people who are a pain. But
Yeah.
where's
yeah,
your
yeah.
pain?
Kind of everywhere. Like
Really?
when if you have a flu, you know what it's like? You ache.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that.
Why do you have that?
I have no idea.
And they don't know?
Just
No.
luck. Just good luck.
No medical experts can...
No, it's probably immunological reaction.
Yeah. I mean, not to get on my high horse about medicine, but I'm always on the wrong side of the woke on medicine. Or maybe, I don't know.
You're on the wrong side of the woke fairly frequently
Yes,
recently.
but especially on that one. They hate it when I went after obesity, and, you know, not in a mean way, just in a way that's saying, and it's so funny, now that Ozempic is getting everybody back into shape, I notice these articles saying, you know, it's not just good for weight loss. And they list like 20 other things it's good for. And I'm like, hey, you idiots. What it means is obesity was always bad for everything. And now that people aren't so fat, all these other things are getting better too. It's not the Ozempic.
I interviewed this psychiatrist, Chris Palmer, who works at the McLean Hospital in Boston. And that's, I suppose, the premier psychiatric hospital maybe in the world. And they're using the carnivore diet to treat schizophrenia, manic depressive disorder, and endogenous depression. So depression without a cause.
Meat.
It's all meat, yeah.
That's what you used.
Yeah, and he's had remarkable success with it. And this is really something, right? Because those are very intractable conditions, especially schizophrenia. And I never did think that they were like psychological in origin. They're so serious that it's very difficult to shake the suspicion that something has just gone seriously wrong, like physically, physiologically. And anyways, they're having, I think he told me that they're running 50 different studies examining the effect of diet on these serious mental disorders. So that's very exciting to watch.
And again, this is one of those things, meat, that really shouldn't even have a political dimension because it's just science, and the science is out. This is more evidence to me that, well, we don't know a lot of shit. This is always one of my issues that they argue with me about medicine is that, you know, it's not an uncommon story to hear somebody say, yeah, I have some pain. They can't really figure out why. They can't figure out a lot. It's not an indictment. It's just that's the century we're living in where they just still can't figure out a lot.
Yeah, well, people turn out to be complicated.
And medicine is very complicated.
Yes, that's for sure. And some things the medical profession do very well. They're very good at joint replacements, for example.
They're good at many things. They're very good at, after they're being very bad at preventative medicine.
Yeah.
When you're right at the end of the line, swooping in at the last minute with heroic measures.
It's hard to monetize preventive strategies, hey?
Correct.
And it's also hard to get people credit for them.
That's so true.
It's like, here's a major problem you didn't have.
That's a great point.
It's really rough. I mean, that's a real strategic and tactical problem. There have been attempts at times to pay doctors for how many people they keep healthy, you know, to give them a crew of people. But those are hard systems to set up economically.
Well, it's a hard sell to the people who make money on ill health. That's what it is. But you're right. I have seen those studies. Let's incentivize keeping people. I think there was one in McLaren, Texas. They did it, the biggest one. And of course it works. You know, if you set
up the incentive structures
properly,
can
incentivize anything.
You can, yes.
But, well, in any event, you look, I mean, I've had doctors who always say, you know, I can tell when someone walks in the office if they're healthy, really. It's a look that you get right away. You know, I mean, this is part of Biden's problem. It's like he just looked bad. You can't look bad. And then, of course, he sounded like a junkie when he talked for at the end. But, you know, you look healthy. You look hale.
Hooray.
And I know you have You're starting your own college?
Yeah, well, it's well started. We have 30,000 students
Wow.
in 3 weeks. Yeah, and it's going great.
What's it called?
It's called Peterson Academy, which wasn't a name I was particularly fond of. You know, it's got that potential for something
Physical or online?
online.
Online.
Yeah, yeah. When we have a stable of about 40 professors at the moment, and they're
Wow.
top rate. And we launched with about 20 courses. We have another 30 already recorded. They're the best courses that have ever been offered publicly in terms of their quality of content and delivery, and also the production values are unparalleled. It's Hollywood level production quality.
What does that mean, production value for a course?
Tight editing.
Editing of what?
Yeah.
The lecture?
Camera shots. So a lot of
So when the students are watching online, it's not happening live?
No, it's not live. It's recorded in front of a live audience.
I see.
And we film people against a white background and with no angles. And so we filled it all with imagery and text, AI generated. And they're beautiful, actually. The courses are beautiful. And
So you don't not only hear what the professor is saying about the shout of Turin, but then you see it.
yeah, right.
Because you've added that's production value.
yeah.
Yeah, we certainly didn't have that when I was a kid. But on the other hand, you could raise your hand and ask the professor a question.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's an advantage if you're in a small course in a bricks and mortar university. But in many universities, the courses are immense. You know, you have 500 students in a course, and there's no interpersonal interaction. And there's no reason fundamentally not to replace that with video, especially given the quality of our professors. Like I would say at the typical state university, let's say, 10% of the courses are of high quality educationally and in terms of their capacity to grip interest. And all of our courses are high quality. And
What in your mind constitutes low quality? That it's more
dull,
dull,
and often wrong, ideologically addled, taught by people who don't know how to teach. I mean, when you train as a professor, you're not trained to teach. And it's not like faculties of education know how to train people to teach, you say, in the K-12 system. So being able to lecture is a rare gift. You know, most people use PowerPoint and read it, or they just read their notes, which is, that's a terrible thing to do to people. You just give people the damn notes if you're going to read them. And
Right.
PowerPoint, reading off a PowerPoint is not lecturing. You know, if you're a good lecturer, first of all, you know way more about the topic you're talking about than you actually have to deliver in the lecture. Like your knowledge should be very expansive. And then what you should be doing is modeling, because you have to realize, well, and you would realize this because you've done stand-up comedy and you know how to perform. It's called a lecture theater for a reason. It's a theater because it's a performance. And then you might say, well, what are you performing? And the answer is you're modeling how you wrestle with ideas. You're modeling how you think. When I do my lectures and tour, I never do the same lecture twice. It's always spontaneous. You know, I have stories that I tell that are part of a set in a way, but I'm always trying to solve a problem or address a problem in real time. And if I'm fortunate and the lecture works out well, it has a narrative arc and it has a punchline. Now, that doesn't always happen because I don't necessarily know where it's going. But all the people we pick to lecture are expert lecturers. They're captivating. And many of them are also revolutionary in their thinking. Two of my favorites, for example, conceptually, Jonathan Pajot is an Orthodox icon carver from Quebec, and he's probably the deepest religious thinker I've ever encountered. And his lectures are great. And he has done some work with a cognitive psychologist named John Vervaeke. He's also quite a revolutionary. He was a very popular professor at the University of Toronto. And they're putting forward a view of the world that's really new and exciting, I think, and meaningful to people. And so we're very interested and excited about this.
It's funny because I think of part of the problem, what's going on in campus these days. And as we're taping this on September 11th, the schools are newly back in session. And I remember when I was that age and heading off at this time of year, I couldn't wait to get back to my encampment.
Right.
So I could protest for a terrorist organization. But apropos of that, I really feel...
An Iran-funded terrorist organization, right? And the protests are Iran-funded as well.
What do you mean by
So
that? Oh, Iran.
Iran.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought you meant the Rand Corporation.
No, no.
'Cause that was
Well,
back
you
in-
never know about
Yeah,
that either.
right.
But no, it's really
Oh,
appalling.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like part of the problem with that kind of thinking, with what has gone wrong with the very, very far left, which is absolutely embodied in academia, is that everything has to be a revolution.
Yeah, right.
I saw this quote from the kids back at Columbia the other day. They had put out a manifesto, and they use language now like, we need to eradicate America at its root.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is, by the way, something we heard in the late 60s from certain what they became sort of terrorist organizations like the Weathermen.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Yeah,
it
much
start-
right out of the communist playbook. Eradicate the past, and all the people who lived in the past. That's just a side effect.
But I mean, to eradicate America at its root, like what?
Mhm.
So you're talking obviously about a different kind of revolution.
Definitely. Yeah.
What
This
is
revolution
your
is more
revolution?
grounded in tradition. Well, part of that is
Well, that's a more of a renaissance then. No.
yes. That's right. That's a better way of thinking about it. Definitely, definitely.
Because
I think partly what we're struggling towards, and partly with Peterson Academy, is it's a more synthetic view of the world. Like I sent you my new book,
I read it.
and so
I told
can
you. I
see-
gave you a blurb.
I know you did. And so you can see partly what I'm aiming at, and this is what many of the thinkers on Peterson Academy are aiming at, insofar as they're aiming at anything other than trying to express what they believe to be the truth, is a synthesis. And so I've been interested for a very long time in the concordance between evolutionary biology and psychology and religious mythology, because there's a deep analogy, there's a deep concordance, which you'd expect. If knowledge unifies at the highest level, then there shouldn't be contradictions in the different domains of knowledge. And I don't think there are. I think contradictions are apparent rather than real. They're a consequence of misunderstanding. So I'm trying to, and have been for a very long time, with this new book I wrote, this We Who Wrestle with God, the rule was that I wouldn't formulate any proposition that I couldn't justify scientifically as well as from a narrative perspective. And so that was a fun exercise, it's a rigorous exercise, and it's been very useful to me.
And it's funny because, as I told you, it really brought me back reading your book to being at Cornell.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
The only good thing for me about Cornell was I did have intellectual epiphanies, and they did give me an amazing, this is the 1970s, so they were still teaching like horrible stuff like what white people did.
Right.
People, I'm sorry that it had to be white people who came up with a few of the good things, but they did, and we still teach them. And now in colleges, I feel like that has to go out the window because George Washington had slaves or some, crazy shit like that. But I got a great, I think, liberal arts education. And so that's kind of what your book reminded me of. But I mean, I'm in a different place than I was in the 70s. I've been an atheist, and I felt like I feel like you're a lapsed atheist. I feel like it's a paradox that someone of your extraordinary intellectual abilities is trying to reanimate this dead hooker called religion and bring it back to life in some way, or find what's useful in it. Why try to take these?
Because you get false substitutes emerge.
What does that mean?
Well, imagine that your systems of ideas, imagine that they're either unified or not unified. Those are basically the options, right? And if they are unified, there's something under which they have to be unified. And if they're not unified, then they're in conflict, and that's not good. That makes you anxious. It makes you hopeless. It breeds social discord.
Ideas are in conflict, you're saying?
Yes.
But ideas are always in conflict.
But if they're in conflict too much, people go to war and they fall apart.
Well,
right? I mean, look, you want diversity and you want difference in opinion because you want to keep things churning. But
what has made people go to war more than anything? Belief in who's the real God. I mean, religion, I could take any number of reasons why I think it's better to junk the whole thing, but start with religions are supremacist. just by their nature. If you're telling people what happens when you die, which nobody knows, and you're telling who the great master of the universe is, you kind of have to be in a place where you can't abide other thoughts on the subject. And certainly all religions are like that. Islam is super supremacist in that way. And a lot of the people today who are speaking for it will tell you right to your face, why am I supporting this? Because Islam is the best. Of course, obviously, that's why we justify these things. And certainly the Bible, same thing. I mean, God is very supremacist for the Jews. I find it very amusing that the thing that they are accusing the Jews of today of doing, colonizing, ethnic cleansing, which are neither true, are true in the Bible. That's exactly what God tells the Jews to do. Ethnically cleanse the Canaanites, commit genocide if you have to. God tells them, kill all the men. This is this in the Bible. You've written about it in there. To kill all the men, the Midianites, another number of people, kill all the men and the women who aren't virgins, kids. I mean,
Yeah, standard pattern of human warfare.
I know, but for people who take a book as the guide to morality, it's filled with terrible morality. But again, not to keep beating a dead horse about why religion is so horrible in any form, but if you read the teachings of the Mormon Church until recently, the things they say about black people are just horrendous. The worst kind of racist thing. And they justify it by talking about that
Ham.
Well, no, that's interesting. They get it. The black people in religion get it from two sources. The Mormons talk about Cain.
Yeah.
That black people are a descendant of Cain, and because Cain is a murderer and he did a dark deed, I mean, they're very open about that's why they have dark skin, to remind us of the darkness in their past. I mean, it's just fucking ugly. Yes, the other thing that the Southerners in this country used was Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham
was the contemptuous son.
Also the one who wanted to fuck his dad. I guess, or maybe both of them, I don't know. But Ham, think the black line runs from Ham.
Right.
But both of them, again, use religion to be justifying what we would today call one of the worst things, racism.
Okay, well, don't look. Right.
Is it worth it to resurrect that whole structure when it comes with that? It's what I call the one turd in the pool theory. I mean, a book that contains, we're okay with slavery, it's terrible on women, it's terrible on homosexuals. It's like if somebody said, yeah, but you know what? There's only one turd in the pool, jump on in. I wouldn't jump in if there was even one turd in the pool. And I wouldn't want to resurrect a book and a mythology
okay.
You get me?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing incoherent about that argument. Although I think it still leaves you in an awkward position, because the postmodernist would say, take a look at your stance and say, well, you defend Western civilization, and there's plenty of turds floating in that pool. Well, but
okay.
Right.
All right, you win that one.
Well, it's rough because
there are plenty of turds floating in that pool.
The past,
that's true.
Right? And
but here's the thing: we can fish our turds out. Like we had slavery, but we fished that turd out of the pool. You can't do that. The Bible is the Bible.
Yeah,
it's there, and it was written by God.
It was the Protestant evangelists that did that.
Did what?
Took that particular bit of pollution out of the pool, right? That was Wilberforce in the UK, and he was completely motivated by religious motivations.
People who were for emancipation.
He was the one who convinced the UK to put their navy against slavery.
In 1776, when our country was declared independent, there were 24 people in this country who belonged to the Abolitionist Society. Mm-hmm. They were mostly Quakers. Mm-hmm. 24 people in the whole fucking country thought abolition of slaves was a good idea.
Yeah. Well, Wilberforce in the UK started out kind of as one.
But it gathered steam.
Right.
It gathered steam. And 87 years later, 7 years later, we did something about it. That's the big argument against religion versus science. It's self-correcting. We can be self-correcting. Religion, to a lot of people, seems too rigid. I mean, its virtue is that it's set in stone. This is what we believe. That's what they're counting on, is that people want that sort of certainty about something.
Okay, so
that it's
then,
not going to
so
change.
there's-
That's what the Pope is always selling.
So one of the criticisms that Christ levies against the Pharisees in particular is exactly that criticism. He says to them, this is one of the things that sets himself up for crucifixion, because it's a very vicious insult. He tells the Pharisees that they worship their own doctrines as if they're religious truths, and that they would have killed the prophets. Had they been around in the time of the prophets that they purport to worship, they would have killed them. Said that they walk across the graves of their own prophets. Yeah. They haunt the graves of their own prophets. That's a good way of thinking about it. So he accuses them of a very deep cynicism. And he's trying to make the same point you're making, which is that you're not supposed to worship the static doctrines of men as if they're religious doctrines, and that there's something in the transformation process that isn't encapsulated in the letter of the law. So what would you say? You don't privilege the letter of the law over the spirit of the law. And I think part of what the genuine religious enterprise is the attempt to identify what that spirit is, that dynamic spirit. And I think that can be done. I think, and it has an affinity, for example, with this idea that it's incumbent on you to voluntarily confront the tragedy and malevolence of life. And that if you do that, it will transform you. And we know that clinically. Like, all the different schools of psychotherapy converged on a few realizations. One of them was that it was useful to get people to get their story straight, to recount their story.
Right.
Another was that if you expose people to the things that they're afraid of and that they're avoiding, that they get stronger. That works. That's how you help people overcome anxiety, for example, social anxiety. It's also the fundamental mechanism of learning, is to put yourself on the edge of disaster and dance there, and that expands you.
Gordon Liddy once said that he was afraid of lightning, so he tied himself to a tree during a storm. I mean, that's an extreme version.
And now we know there isn't a God, because if there was, and it was Gordon Liddy tied to a tree. Yeah, but look, you use exposure training and therapy all the time. And a lot of what you do when you're trying to help people heal is return to that idea of the snake on the staff. It's like, what are you afraid of that's stopping you from moving forward? That's what you try to find out in therapy. It's like, what is it that's paralyzing you? Okay, now can we break that down into manageable bites so that you can confront it? And people, see, it was a weird thing, because the behaviorists were the first people that figured this out, that you could expose people to what they were afraid of voluntarily, and that they would become less afraid. That was the theory. They'd become less afraid. The psychoanalyst said that's not going to work, because maybe someone's afraid of an elevator, but they're not really afraid of the elevator. They're afraid of death. And if you get them to relax about the elevator, their fear will just pop up somewhere else.
Right.
But that isn't what happened. What happened was that if you got people to face any one thing they were afraid of voluntarily, they started to learn that they were more capable than they thought. And that made their bravery generalize. And that's really what kids do when they go out into the world, right? They find a challenge and they overcome it. And they learn that they're the sort of creature that can find a challenge and overcome it. And that generalizes. And that happened in psychotherapy. And then there's a radicalization of that idea in the Gospels. And in this story of the brazen serpent, it's like there's no limit to that. You take the worst, and this is also part and parcel of hero myth, because the most ancient story we have, literally, is a variant of the dragon treasure story, right? That the quest is.
I love that part in the book.
Yeah. Well, it's a very useful thing to know.
Look, if you're a person who has been listening for this last half hour and doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about, that book isn't for you. But if you're a person who has even a little bit of understanding of the Bible, you don't even have to be religious. It's a historical document. I really found this book so fascinating. It's so great. It's like what you were describing about your lecture. It's like your lecture in a book form. Somebody who knows how to tell a story, make you think differently of things. Even in the blurb I gave you, and you're a friend, I'm trying to be supportive. I had to even say at the end, I didn't get all the way with him,
Yeah.
He didn't convince me because I feel like you're more religious than you used to be, or at least willing to give it a try. And maybe that has to do with you getting sick. I don't know.
I don't think so. I
But
think.
what a ride to go on.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I love that book.
I'm glad to hear that.
And people will too. I mean, you don't have to, you just have to be interested in great stories. I mean, why does the Bible survive? A lot of it is good stories. It's a lot of stories.
There's stories you need to know too.
And it doesn't bother people that they're told by, both Testaments are an anthology. It's funny that in the New Testament, they right out say, this is 4 different versions, and they're not even going to match, and we don't care. The Old Testament, I think this is still the case, but certainly when I studied it in college, they identified 4 main writers of the Old Testament. They called them J, E, D, and P. And then they would be like, J wrote this in 850 BC, and then obviously this is added. I mean, this is how scholars see it. But it's kind of the same thing.
It's an aggregation.
It's an aggregation of people over. Now, the New Testament, it's much closer. Mark is about 70 AD, and the last one, John, is about 110. So there's about 40 years. But all of them take place well after Jesus died. They never knew Jesus, the gospel writers. The only one who was close to Jesus' time is St. Paul, who's writing in the 50s. Jesus dies in 33. And he knows nothing about Jesus. It's so weird that the people who wrote later know everything about him. Paul doesn't even conceive of Jesus as someone who lived on earth. He said if he had lived on earth, he wouldn't have been a priest. He wouldn't have even been a priest. That's in St. Paul. He doesn't know anything about Mary, Joseph, the virgin birth, the crucifixion, miracles, walking on water, fishing with the guys, and then nothing. I find that kind of weird.
There's no shortage of things that are incomprehensibly strange in the biblical library.
So being sick had nothing to do with
not much. No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, what did being sick do? Well, it made me more grateful. That's for sure.
But isn't that wrapped up with religion?
Well, that's partly why I'm bringing it up. I mean, I was in excruciating pain for 3 years. And so now when I'm sitting here and I'm not on fire, I'm reasonably pleased about that when I have enough sense to remember.
Right.
Is that a permanent change? I suspect so. 3 years is a long time.
I mean, it does sound like what God did to Job. I'm just saying, it's very.
Well, I think like that happens to everybody to some degree. I mean, every single person in the course of their life has to deal with the fact that somewhat random, extremely unpleasant things come along, and to some degree, even independent of your moral conduct.
Oh, totally.
And then, well, just look. If you're a bad actor, the probability that horrible things are going to come your way is all things considered, quite radically increased. But
yes and no. I mean, nothing bad happened to Saddam Hussein until we captured his ass and hung him. But he had 65 years of being able to act like the most ridiculous tyrant in the world and get away with it. Other people, again, they don't do anything and something bad happens.
Well,
I feel like when people connect their behavior with some sort of punishment or reward, that's childish. That's when people go karma. I did a whole thing on this on my show once. What a bunch of bullshit, karma. Americans interpret karma to mean like, you took the last parking spot and now shit's going to happen to you. That's Schadenfreude. That's not karma. But that's how people think of it. Karma. Oh, yeah, it's going to come back and get you. No, I'm sorry.
Weaponized karma.
Weaponized karma. No, life is random. Good people get punished for no reason, and bad people go unpunished. You just, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're some sort of a petty criminals always committing crimes, you're probably going to wind up in jail, and that's not good. But not everything has a logical connection to it.
Well, and lots of times good people suffer terribly.
Terribly.
Right, and that's partly what Job is trying to deal with. And,
exactly.
And part of what he does do is it's a strange thing because he takes refuge in his own ignorance, and I think there's some utility in that. There has to be, because we have to if we don't operate on the assumption that there's something like an intrinsic moral order, it's very difficult for us to conjure up the courage to continue to exist when things go seriously sideways. But it's worse than that. Like, it's worse than that because, and this is why I brought up the Cain story earlier. If you are tortured, even unjustly, and you lose faith in yourself and the structure of existence, it isn't only that you become demoralized, it's that you tilt towards malevolence. You start to work against things. And this is why, for example, I'm not thrilled in the least with the antinatalist types. You know, they make this claim that existence is characterized by suffering that's so intense that it would be better if consciousness itself just ceased to exist. And you can make, that's Mephistopheles' case, by the way.
It's Silenus in Greek mythology.
Well, you can make a case for it.
What would be better to have never been born?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, and you might say, okay, you know, fair enough. What you're doing essentially is saying that the suffering in existence invalidates its utility. But what if it is the case that if you believe that you become an agent that produces suffering? Well, that is what seems to happen, is that
Right.
like once you turn against life, I mean, look, everyone's going to have a time in their life when they think, oh my God, like really? Is this worth it? Like you watch someone you love suffer, or maybe you're in agony for doing something good, let's say in the worst possible situation. You think, really? Like really? And so then maybe you get cynical and you get bitter. But the problem is that has a direction too. That is what happens to Cain. Like he starts out cynical and bitter, but he ends up murderous, and his descendants are genocidal. Like that doesn't seem like a good alternative. And so what you see in Job is this insistence, and it's a terrifying insistence, that you are required to maintain faith in your essential goodness, despite your flaws, which is already a hard thing to do, and your faith in the fundamental benevolence of, what would you say, of the created order. Because anything else hurts you, but it's worse than that. It produces a kind of malevolence that spreads. And I think that's like... You asked me what the relationship was between me being ill and this interest in religious belief. And I said that wasn't the primary mover. The primary mover for me has always been the study of atrocity. Because I spent a lot of time as a psychopathologist studying the actions of the people who have done the worst things. And they're unimaginably bad. I mean, Iris Chang's book, The Rape of Nanking. The Nazis are the good guys in that book.
Well,
right. I'm serious. That's how rough it was.
For those who may not remember, 1937, the Japanese are on the march.
Yeah.
And they're about to, Pearl Harbor was 1941, so this is 4 years before Pearl Harbor, and they were on the march in Asia, and they went into China, Manchuria, and what they did, I remember reading somebody's column recently, it was on the anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it went into great detail about what the Japanese did not just in Manchuria.
Iris Chang committed suicide after writing that book.
Boy, when it's so bad, even the book writer kills it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, this guy said, I know there's a lot of hand-wringing in America about Nagasaki and Hiroshima, not in Asia. They were not upset at all that the Japanese regime was taken out as brutally as it was, because what they did, I mean, to your point about the rape of Nanking, was just like, we won't like...
See, well, and that's also the conundrum at a relatively deep level that's being contended with in the Old Testament. It's like, so the Canaanites in general, like from a narrative perspective, the Canaanites are the evil descendants of Cain.
Right.
Okay, and so the people that are being fought against are the cynical, bitter, twisted, nihilistic, genocidally motivated, sadistic murderers, let's say. Well, then the question is, if that's the enemy that you're up against, what exactly is the moral thing to do? You know, and you just made a case, you know, painful it is to point it out, you made a case that there are patterns of behavior that are so despicable that what's justified in that situation? Was the atom bomb justified? Well, you know, we're arguing about that now. And people take the same tack with regards to the firebombing of Dresden, right? And you think, well, you know, the Nazis, they were pretty bad. And so what do we do about that? And the answer is, well, you know, we don't exactly know. It's not like it's simple. You know, how do you limit your reprisals? Well, we're dealing with that right now with the situation in Israel.
Did you see the guy on Tucker Carlson recently who was giving a revisionist history of?
Was it Cooper? Was that his name?
I don't remember his name.
I think so.
I had never heard of him. Tucker
Yeah.
Carlson introduced, and of course, we're talking about Tucker Carlson, who I think is crazy insane about a lot of things. But he introduced him as like the most important historian of the blah, blah, blah. And this guy, I'm just paraphrasing like mad, but like, no, you got it all wrong. Hitler was the good guy and Churchill was the bad guy. Now, you would agree that's insane, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because there are people in this world who think that that's who you are. I
Me? Yes, I know.
You know I'm not one of those
Yes,
people.
I do
but I'm
understand
just saying,
that.
like, when you're not fully on the woke train, you are somehow just thrown all the way across the field into that bin. That's what bothers me about the way people react to you. It's like, and me.
I have some objections to it too.
Yeah, and me. You know, it's like it's just
how's that going for you?
So
because
childish.
You've been
it's so naive and childish.
You've been standing up to the woke mob more and more.
Of course.
And so what's been the consequence? Not many people are doing that.
No, you're right. Well, the consequence is some people left the building. I can't give an estimate, and I don't care, and I don't miss them. Other people joined. Like, there's a lot of people in this country who are tired of the hate and the hating, and I am one of them. I don't want to hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country. I would never vote for Trump, and I think he's an abomination. And Kamala, you know, do I have to love everything? No. And it's fine. And I thought she was great last night, and I can't be more thrilled that I would put my money on that she's going to win the election. But I don't hold my tongue about what is insane about the other side, because it's not nearly as threatening as not conceding elections, which Trump does not do. So that's where I am on that. But I also understand that Trump, I think, will go away after this. I think he's kind of finally reached his Joe McCarthy stage where it's like people are tired of it. It just took longer. But Trumpism won't go away. And I would define Trumpism as a fear of the insanity of the far left, which is not completely unjustified. And therefore, anyone is better than that. And Trump proves it because he is that anyone. If he's okay, if he, in all his monstrosity, is still better than what you fear about the left, that's a problem the left has to deal with. It would be so easy. This thing I just mentioned about Colombia, where they were saying we want to eradicate the United States as it is. How about pick some Democratic politician, pick that as your Sister Soldier moment. Remember Sister Soldier? That's what Clinton, he made a thing about a rapper who had said, we should take a week out and just kill white people. Now, no one was...
It'd take longer than a week.
It would take... Exactly. But she said...
She's just not committed to the task.
She was being reasonable. She said, just take a week. Okay. And nobody really took this seriously. He purposely picked on that. And someone could do that. Does anybody think most kids in America want to eradicate America? Of course not. But just pick out something to signal to the middle of this country, we're not as crazy as the super crazies on the far left. Just pick it. That's a Sister Soldier moment. We don't want to eradicate America. Okay? So Trumpism will not, they will find someone.
You know,
they will find another Trump. It's not really just him. As long as there's things that scare them about the things you've gotten in trouble with, gender, and the hysterics about racism, not that it isn't a real thing, but all this, freedom of speech issues, parenting issues, all these things that really scare them. And again, not completely without justification.
Well, there's plenty of reason to be scared of the radical left.
That's what I'm saying. Until you take care of that problem, they will always come up with a Trump.
So
That's it.
I spent 5 years working with Democrats, trying to pull them to the center. And I had a lot of behind-the-scenes conversations with people, virtually none of them public, because virtually no one would talk to me publicly.
Are we talking about politicians?
Yes, yes, and many of them. And I asked them all, on the Democrat side, I asked them all the same question, purposefully. And I asked this to RFK too. When does the left go too far? Because obviously the left can go too far. And none of them would answer. And so,
really?
Not one. Dead serious.
In private?
In private as well.
Come on.
No, I'm telling you the truth. And
I know some people who would answer that.
Well, look, it's also, I stopped doing a fair bit of that about a year and a half ago. And things have changed. There are more people on the moderate Democrat side who are willing to draw a line with regard to the radical leftists, but they're still not very good at defining it. So they'd reverse the question and ask me, like, when do you think they go too far? And I thought that was simple. It's like equality of outcome. And the universal response to that was always the same. Oh, they don't really mean that.
Well,
it's like, they do.
To be fair, it is more complicated than just that. Equality, meaning equality of outcome, I believe in that too. Equity is what they changed it to, a lot of people on the far left, and Biden went along with all of it, means no, some people started out not from the same place, so we should make an effort to redress that. I believe in some of that theoretically, and some of it in how you would put it into practice. You can't just say, okay, let's some people weren't even at the starting gate for the first 350 years, and now go. Of course, there's going to be remedial, I think, things that we can do, and we're doing many of them. We're doing some of them anyway. But do I think it means we should, make it that medical school is not something that you can only get into completely by merit? No, because no one wants a doctor who got there by affirmative action.
Yes.
Right, but you would count what I said to be valid, right? That you can't say if you started 300 years late, we expect you to be.
I guess this is one of the things that probably tilts me in the more conservative direction, and partly as a social scientist, is that well-meaning interventions seldom have the outcome that's designed.
Correct.
So even and it's really a radical
I would agree.
problem. Okay, so the historical solution to the problem of unequal distribution of, say, even of opportunity is that everyone is treated the same under the law, regardless of anything, regardless of wealth, regardless of race,
right,
age, status. It's the same. Now, obviously, there's elements of that appear unjust. So if you make $1 million a year and you get a $1,000 fine for speeding, that's a lot different than a $1,000 fine for someone who makes $12,000 a year. And so then you might say, well, maybe your fine should be income adjusted. Okay, but the problem with that is okay, you're differentially privileged with regards to your wealth. Well, how many dimensions of differential privilege are there? And the answer to that is, well, there's as many dimensions as there are differences between people. And that's an infinite number of differential advantages and disadvantages. And so I'll give you an example that I think is quite germane. So there's obviously disparity in wealth. Well, one of the best predictors of wealth is age. Older people are richer. Well, why? Well, obviously, because they've had their whole life to work.
Race.
So,
Even more.
Okay, but let me make the case with this for a minute. Okay, so then you might say, well, it's very unfair that the old people have the money. It's like, yeah, fair enough, buddy. But the young people, have the youth. And if, I'm
That's
serious,
so
and if
true.
you took the old person
Right.
and said, look, you give me all your money,
Right.
I'm 18, you give me all your
Right.
money, and I'll be 65, and you get to be 18 and broke.
But would you actually take that bargain? Because I wouldn't. Even though I'm punching 70 in the mouth, I still wouldn't do it because my head would still be my 18-year-old head, and I just couldn't take any more of that. Your stupidity, or at least my stupidity at that age, caused so much pain, unnecessary pain in my life, that I would rather be this age.
Well, that's another sign of differential advantage, is you've got the disadvantages of being old, but now you're not quite as stupid. So,
Not
you know,
quite.
that's
No,
right,
it's
right.
it's awesome not being stupid.
Yeah, right,
It
right.
just is awesome. There's like that old commercial, priceless. It's priceless not being fucking stupid.
What do you think is better about you now than when you were young?
I'm not fucking stupid. I
Well-
don't make stupid mistakes. I don't make that. I mean, I'm sure people would say, "Oh, Bill, you said this the other week, and I meant it, and it wasn't horrible."
Well, frequency and intensity also matter.
Also, I'm mixing dangerous chemicals every week, okay? I'm playing third base okay? I'm gonna get more hard-hit grounders. And, but just not just, but personally, much more, even my personal life. I mean, men take a very long time to mature. I mean, when a woman says like, boy, you know, you need a 40-year head start. Yeah, you do. You need like a 40-year head start to be on the same level. It's just, at least it's crazy how immature, as society would define immature, you can be, or I was, late into life, because the immature things are the fun ones. I still don't want to give them up. You know, people are different. We talked about this the last time you were here. You know, we could not be more different in that way. I mean, you're so much more a woman's dream, and I'm like a woman's nightmare in many ways, like never committed, never got married, never wanted to. I never understood how people could, and I see so many people who talk about it, like married couples, and they talk very fondly about like, oh, remember when we were in love? And they're reminiscing about this time in their life that lasted like maybe 2 years. And they're living off that for the rest of their life. For the rest of their life, they're kind of remembering, oh yeah, that time when you were crazy in love and you'd have sex all the time and it was hot, and it's like, yeah, and I had that and went, can we just keep this going forever? Would that really be the worst thing? But you probably have both.
Well, it's something that you can practice.
Really?
Well, the way I look at it is, and I guess this is biological and theological at the same time, is that we can start with the way that you perceive children. So you don't see your own child the same way you see someone else's child. And so then the question is, well, are you deluded about your own child, or are you deluded about other people's children? And I would say, and I'm trying to think about this scientifically, is that you're kind of blind to other people's children. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You see them, in a sense, you see them generically. Like, most people show their best side to children, so I'm not trying to make a blanket condemnation of people. But I think that when you have your own child, then that's a child that you actually see. And so there's a depth of love there. And it's because your perceptions aren't inhibited. You actually see what's there. And so you fall in love. And then you make this commitment to the child. Now, I think the same thing happens to you when you fall in love with someone, is that you actually see into them much more deeply than you ever see into anyone else. And that's something that you're given. It's like a grace, or you could think about it as the action of an instinct. I don't really care which of those particular pathways of interpretation you take, but it's something that's offered to you. And I think that you can practice maintaining that. It's hard. It takes work.
Yeah.
Like, it's an art.
That's always the one that gets me off the trail.
Well, people aren't trained to do this. Like, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so like
Yeah,
one of the things that I do with my wife is I try to remember that I love her. Like, I try to remember that. And I don't mean I bring the idea I love her to mind. That isn't what I mean.
Right.
I try to remember what it was like to see her when I was deeply in love with her, and then to have that happen again. And you can practice that. It works. It's hard, but it's like ridiculously worthwhile. And
Right.
I think my wife and I learned that more deeply in the last 3 or 4 years, because I just about died and she just about died. And it was damn close in both situations. And so then, wow, then we didn't die. And it was like, it's very strange, because she thought she was dead, and I was sure that I was gone. I thought, there's no way I'm coming back from this.
So when you're going through like some shit where people are attacking you for something, is she like right by you always, like saying like, look at what these assholes are saying, you're so right, and like making you feel, because I know the feeling, as you do, of like being in the glare because you said something or did something that they hate and they're screaming. And, you know, I always think of tennis matches. You ever watch a tennis match?
Yeah.
And the player's girlfriend is always in the audience. And they cut to her, and she's just like bleeding along with him on every point. You know, like it's almost like she's in the match too. Is that
well,
what
I would say,
when you
look,
go through?
I would say my wife is definitely in the match too, but she's not exactly the bleeding along with you type. Well, seriously, my wife, as far as women go, she's not particularly agreeable. She's fairly combative. And so, well, I like that about her. I like that about her. Yeah, I like that about her, because she's a rough player, but she's fundamentally on my side. And so how does she stand beside me? It's not so much exactly with empathy. It's more like strategic play, you know? So if an attack comes, and I do this with my kids too, because we're quite tightly unified in that way. It's like, we take it on as a war. It's like, okay, you're after us, eh?
Right. I feel like it's stronger with the kids then. And that's why maybe a great reason to have kids is because, you know, even Eric Trump is like, hey, Dad.
Yeah, well,
you know,
well, that is definitely an advantage of having kids. There's no doubt about it. But my wife is, like, we're pretty allied. We're pretty, now, she's also quite, she's discriminating. Like, the reason that I wouldn't characterize her affiliation with me exactly as empathic is because she's quite judgmental. Like, she's expecting me to do things the right way. And if I don't do them, she's not happy about that. But that's actually helpful, because in these situations
when was the last time you needed to be righted?
Oh, God, all the time.
Really?
Oh, God,
Name
absolutely.
One. Really? You need the woman to sit there and go, hey, you're really off the mark there.
Well, it's you know what it's like. The situations that you're in, let's say politically, they're complicated.
When was the last time tell me the last time she corrected something in you? And you were like, oh, thank you for telling me that, because I was about to be such a fucking asshole. And then you,
I guess it's probably more subtle than that in some ways. I mean, so for example, she's watching me in public all the time and the way that I'm interacting with people. And we discuss that to make sure that I'm treating people properly when I'm out in public in general, when people come up to me or when we're in restaurants or anything like that.
Like what? If she wasn't there, you'd fucking give them
no, but you know, like if people, I don't know, when you're met by people in public, what's your philosophy of conduct when people meet you in public?
Be awesome.
Okay,
awesome, because performers will never stop. Maybe at a certain level you would, but I have never gotten to that level, and that's fine. I love the level I'm on, but I am insecure about, like, I do not want to alienate one single fan. I feel like, I mean, I still have the insecurity from when I was 22 years old.
Well, is that insecurity or is that a moral obligation?
No, I think it is. It's both.
Okay.
I want to do it because more than anything to my audience, I always want to be a hero. When I do the show on Friday night, I want to be their hero. When I do a stand-up show, I want to be their hero. And when I meet them in person, like, I've had the experience of meeting someone who I liked from afar, and then they disappointed me. And I want to be the you don't.
That's right. You never forget, and then you'll tell everyone too.
I want to be the opposite. I want to be the, wow, he really engaged. You know, not for long. I mean, You don't know me like that.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
like, I don't ignore you either, or I don't take for granted
Yes.
that I think a certain way in this world and I speak a certain way and I have a certain type of audience, apropos to your point before about what have I lost? Yeah, I have lost some audience. I have. The super woke left the building, and again, I don't miss them. People who are indoctrinated into one way of thinking and never really hear anything that gets into that bubble. That's not what I don't find that interesting or getting to reality. So I do have a somewhat of a different audience. Anyway, so when I meet people who are across the board, I mean, I still meet the old super liberal folks who love it. And now I meet more, but I always met certain conservatives always were respectful of my show. They felt like this is a guy who is a liberal, but he is not afraid to criticize his own side. It just got more exponential because the left got crazier. Since about 2015 is when Jonathan Haidt says it began with the
that
Gen
seems
Z.
about right.
That's when trigger warnings and, what happened was we switched generations and the people.
Well, and we had the social media technology and the cell phone come along.
Yes, that was a big part of it.
Yeah, it enabled the psychopaths fundamentally.
Yes. I mean, look, Elon Musk has definitely changed. You can't tell me he hasn't changed. Do I think he's evil? I don't. But I do think he's changed. And it's because of what he calls the woke mind virus. He thinks he lost his son. He talked to you about it, as I recall.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's also something you don't forget.
Well, I can't endorse where he's gone. I can't endorse voting for Trump in any possible way, and he's for Trump. And I think he did a great thing in taking over Twitter because.
And so you think that the moderate left is recoverable?
Yeah.
You think the universities are recoverable?
No.
Why not? So how do you
We have to go in there with a flamethrower. There's a big difference. I mentioned this on my show at the end of it last week. There's a big difference between Democratic politicians who generally are a sane crop. They're too timid, yes, about calling out their far left, but they are generally a sane crop. They're not for and would not get on the page with legislatively, for example, defunding the police.
They've been pretty useless on the trans butchery side of things.
Like I say, not standing up against that stuff. Exactly. You're right.
8,000. That's 8,000 double mastectomies of minors so far.
Compared to the worst Republican politicians, it's not even close. The Republican politicians are way worse. You could say, and I would agree with you if you did, that there are crazies on each side. I would add to that, and in the Republican side, they have found a place for them. Unfortunately, it's in elective politics. But the people, not just the politicians on the far left, they're the ones who are so obnoxious, the ones who control culture, the ones in the media, the ones on what used to be on Twitter. That's what I was saying about Elon. He did a good thing. He drove the woke out of Twitter the way St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. But then instead of creating what would have been like the internet version of what I think I'm doing, a place where you have a kind of a centrist view, where you have maybe, generally center left, but not afraid to call out the left, but also realistic about how dangerous the right is. But he didn't. He went full bore and just switched it all over to the super right. So now we just have Twitter's mirror image.
Let me ask you about that.
And it should have been Twitter, the middle place.
Well, some of this is a technical problem, eh? And what I mean by that is that these new social communication technologies are landscapes that lack governance, and no one knows exactly how to do it, right? It's not like Mark Zuckerberg knows how to regulate Facebook. No, I'm serious. It's really okay. No, but there's some reasons for that too.
You're right.
So the anonymity that the social media platforms allows the psychopathic narcissist types that are all a real danger to civilization. It allows them free reign, and they're amplified because they what would you say? They parasitize negative emotion and they're amplified. And now it's the case that throughout history, when the psychopathic minority, which is about 4% of the population, gets the upper hand, that all hell breaks loose. This happens all the time. And what I see happening in the social media world is the rise of exactly those sorts of people. They'll say anything they can possibly imagine, regardless of political orientation, because they're just using that as a weapon to draw power and resources to themselves. And there's plenty of them. And they have come out in staggering numbers on the far right in the aftermath of October 7th. And it's a seriously ugly thing to see. But it's also, we're trying to solve that. So tell me what you think about this. We tried to solve that with Peterson Academy. So we built a social media network into it. Now, there's a couple of differences between it and Twitter. And the first difference, and I really want to know what you think about this, is there's a price of entry. You have to pay $40 a month. So here's a hypothesis. To be part of Peterson Academy and to participate in the social media network.
$40 a month.
That's
nothing.
I know. We have the most progressive university in the world. High quality education for everyone.
That's so Canadian.
Yeah. So
$40.
Well, so
you can't get a Mai Tai for $40 in this town.
Yeah, we think we can get people a bachelor's level at equivalent education for $2,000. That's the plan. And I think we can do it. We have the capital to do it.
So you're teaching like the old school curriculum. Please say yes.
Yes.
Like what I learned.
Yes.
Like, I mean, European history, it's not evil just because it happened in Europe. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're teaching,
I mean,
it's going to be a classic liberal curriculum,
right.
fundamentally.
And like, that's not to
tilted,
say,
I suppose, to some degree towards the conservative side.
Do I think that in my fabulous Cornell education, they gave short shrift to Asia and Africa? I do. I think I probably should know more about Asian and African history. But
yeah, but at least you know something.
Well, I don't know.
You got to start somewhere.
I don't know much, but I'm sorry, but there is less that's relevant to the modern world. Because again, the ideas
that Eurocentric bigot.
I'm not a bigot. I know you're joking, but no, I'm just saying, if the ideas that came through, as I mentioned before, Athens and Rome and Jerusalem and London and Paris and Philadelphia, if they had come through Dakar and I don't know, Timbuktu, and I would be, I'm sorry, but they didn't. So should I study these civilizations more? Yes, but you then have to prove to me that,
now you've just lost like another 100,000 woke fans. It's like the way they're
already gone.
Yeah.
They're already gone, brother.
Yeah.
They're already gone, and it's okay. Maybe they'll come back, but I mean, it's very hard to reach the indoctrinated on either side. I mean, I saw you got in trouble because you said Kamala Harris's fans. She talks to them like
retarded children.
Okay, did you see the debate last night?
I did.
I mean, what could be more retarded than
it was rough
than saying the immigrants are eating the cats and the dogs? I mean, come on, man. I mean. Come on, it's kind of asking for trouble when you position the one person, and again, people are binary in their thinking, but when you use that word about, which I agree.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about that. So I think Trump made a mistake last night in not making more of the nature of his team. So let me walk you through that and tell me what you think about it. So you already admitted, for example, or agreed that the universities are in dire shape.
Horrible.
Okay. So now the question is...
I call it the source of the problem.
Yes, okay.
The mouth of the river from which all the woke nonsense flows.
Yeah.
The mouth of the river is what I would say.
Yes,
academia.
Yes. And I agree with that sentiment. I think it's true. And we know perfectly well that the university faculties are tilted radically to the left, that there's far fewer classic liberals than there were, say, 30 years ago, and there's virtually no conservatives.
Right.
So it's very tilted.
And the phrase ivory tower, sometimes something becomes such a cliche you don't hear it anymore, but that's perfect. It's really what it is. The Ivy League ivory towers. They're living in towers. They don't understand.
Towers of Babel, as it turns out.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Which is kind of the Eve story retold. You cannot know what God is like.
Yes. Yes.
Don't eat the
Yes.
apple. Don't try to climb up to
Yeah,
me.
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's a story of pride again.
All those themes recapitulate. I mean,
Definitely.
I'm getting this from your book. I mean, I knew it before, but the way you get at that again, it's just it was.
I have the next one written too,
such a pleasure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, really. I mean, there's so few things left for adults. Everything is geared, and look,
It's that impulsive gratification that we were talking about earlier. A society that's tilted towards that. Well, you talked about immaturity, you know, and that requirement for immediate gratification is like the definition of immaturity.
The problem is parents used to go see movies, and now they give kids their money to go see the movies they want to see. That's what happened in the movie industry.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, I'm not a parent. I probably shouldn't comment on it.
So the Twitter issue. So I think part of the problem, you tell me what you think about this, is that part of the problem with the social media networks is that they're free. Because
it's just that Elon is constantly, you know, just writing true about some insanity. It's the thing that happened last night at the debate with the immigrants are eating the cats, and like the human mind. You know this better than me because this is your life's work. But it's just such an amazing place that you can be so brilliant as to be able to figure out electric cars and how to relaunch a rocket from Mars back to Earth. But like the stupidest thing someone puts up on Twitter, he will retweet and say true.
I know that the far-right mob that emerged after October 7th, I know for a fact that they're attempting to manipulate Musk and draw him into a web that amplifies their views.
Well, it's working.
I know that. I understand that.
But he should, like I said, he had the chance to take Twitter and twist it away from the far lefties who had made it a ridiculous place. My line about Twitter was always, anything I want to say on Twitter, I can't say on Twitter. That was the problem with Twitter, because the school moms were pointing their finger at you.
Yes, I've noticed
that. And he completely switched it around. But he should have just gone halfway.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So I have some friends who've been looking into the rise of the far-right anti-Semitic psychopathic types on Twitter and elsewhere. And they've done very deep analysis, tracing the sources of funding as well.
From the left.
The people who are doing this?
From the left.
No, the right-wingers.
The right-wing Jew haters.
Yeah.
Because there's ones on both sides now.
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. There's plenty of them. And which is worse? It's like, I don't know. It's like,
I'm much more afraid of the left Jew haters.
Yeah, I think that's right at the moment.
I mean, the right ones were always there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're more there now than they were, though, too.
That's the tiki torch, Jews will not replace us crowd.
Yeah.
They were always there. That's a problem. We should keep an eye on it. It's bad. It's real bad.
Yeah.
But what's new?
It's globalize the Intifada? That sort of anti-Semitism?
Hamas will save us. Hamas is coming.
Yeah.
I mean, just read their signs. Hamas is coming, like that's a good thing.
You know that women between the ages of 18 and 35 get almost all of their news from TikTok, eh?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that TikTok, I think the stats we have is it's 60-1 Hamas versus Israel in terms of messaging.
Well, women between 18 and 35 get most of their news from TikTok, but also from what I tell them. Okay.
What's the demography of your fan group? Yeah, right.
It's not that.
No, definitely not.
No, it's can you imagine
Okay, so
anyone 18 listening to this conversation? I mean, they would have to be and there's always those 18-year-olds out there. There's always that 1% of kids, no matter how bad the system gets, you can't stop them from being smart. You can't stop them from knowing shit. And
even if you send them to university, you mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah. They're intellectually curious, and especially with the internet and everything else, that what gets on their radar, what sticks, in their head is just enormous. And it's always impressive to me to meet somebody young like that who knows so many things. But the vast majority of them, I could go on and on about the educational system, and I'm sure you could too, but I mean, we've passed.
That's why we're trying to replace it.
Yes.
Hmm.
And I'm glad you are. And you know, Barry Weiss, I'm sure you know
Yeah.
this, started a university.
Yeah.
And I say the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously we can't just have one,
Yeah.
you know. And I think it'll be successful because, you know, success in any market is finding a niche that is not being exploited.
Mm.
Something where the market goes, we need that. Or else you have to invent a need. You know,
Yeah.
people did that. Nobody thought they needed $5 coffee.
Yeah.
And nobody thought they needed an iPhone. But people have always, I think, thought, I want my kids to actually get a real education. I mean, isn't that the success of Catholic schools in this country?
Mm.
People go to Catholic schools in greater numbers than ever who are not Catholic.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the last places you can get a serious education where
Careful. You're starting to sound like someone who's pro-religious again.
I am not pro-religious. I'm an atheist, and I have tremendous bitterness against the Catholics who personally made me an unhappy child.
What happened?
What happened? I was raised Catholic is what happened. What happened was church
things?
and catechism and nuns who fucking hit you with a ruler and anxiety about I have to memorize 100 questions like, where do I come from? God made me. Like I still have I saved it, the mimeograph sheet. I can still smell it. Where I had to know 100 questions like, where is God? God is everywhere. I mean, some of them you could just guess. But when you're 7, it's traumatizing. Make a 7-year-old memorize 100 questions about the fucking world. And again,
well, a lot of people who tilt towards atheism aren't doing it only for reasons of rationality. They're also doing it because they were hurt by bad religious actors.
Oh, I'm completely open to admitting that.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
And I love to put them out of business, but I also rationally believe it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that future historians will say that humans actually exited their medieval period when theism died. We think we exited our medieval period with the advent of the scientific revolution and when science became a thing around 1500 or whenever, you know, Da Vinci and Copernicus and okay, I think they will say it's when we stopped as a general thing. There will always be pockets of resistance, but generally stopped being theists. I think they will say that's when humanity entered their post-medieval period.
So for me,
I throw the glove down, sir.
Well, the problem I have with that, and have had for a long time, is that there's always going to be something that tries to rise up to occupy the highest possible place. Always. Because there's a drive towards unity socially and psychologically. And so
you're saying better religion than what replaces it?
Well, no, not necessarily.
No,
because
that's not a ridiculous theory. Because I've seen religion replaced by this kind of QAnon thing.
Yeah,
QAnon
right?
is kind of a religion.
Yeah, so is wokeism.
So is wokeism. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're both very deleterious.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, do I think QAnon, which is quasi-Christian nationalism, is worse than old school Christianity? Yeah, I do.
Okay, so why? Why is it worse?
Because QAnon is wrapped up with dumb ideas like, you know, if the guy you want to win the presidency doesn't win, ignore it and install your guy anyway. Because they believe, getting back to the other conversation about Trumpism, they believe that the other side is such an existential threat. And again, the other side gives them so much ammunition to believe this, that they think anything is justifiable. In Vietnam, they used to say, we had to destroy the village
to save it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is like, if you destroy democracy to save America, you are destroying the village to save it.
See, you asked me earlier why I'm trying to, say, revitalize a corpse. And my answer to that is that, well, that's a very old idea, that idea. And the reason for that is
which is something religion does.
It does that repeatedly. It does that repeatedly.
Lazarus.
Right. Well, it's a motif, right? The raising of the dead. And there's reasons for that, and that's one of them. I'm trying to separate the wheat from the chaff. Like, I became convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt when I was 20-something, early 20s, 21, that evil existed. And that raises the specter that good exists, at least as the opposite of whatever evil is. And so my religious pursuit, such as it is, and this is why I was interested in psychology as well, and biology for that matter, is because I wanted to contend with that particular problem. And what I'm trying to do is to separate the wheat from the chaff, because I see that there is a drive towards unity in knowledge, and something will strive to take the highest possible place. And what you see with the postmodernists, for example, the postmodern Marxists, because they tend to be the same bunch, is that they dispense with God, but they substitute power. And like, of all the gods you could worship, power might be the worst.
Yeah, power is
Right?
another way of saying what I was saying before. They substitute God for Mao, Stalin,
Yeah, right.
Kim Jong-un.
Exactly.
It is the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, and then there's an issue there.
Hirohito.
So if you had, imagine you had to pick two dictators even. And one believed that he was God himself. And the other believed that despite the fact that he had almost unlimited temporal power, there was something sovereign above him that he was beholden to. Which of the two would you pick? And there's a technical reason I'm actually asking that, because thousands of years ago, this happened in Mesopotamia, the Mesopotamians realized that the sovereign had to be subordinate to some abstract set of principles. He had to be the embodiment of something that was beyond him, or he wasn't valid as a sovereign. And it was a real shift in viewpoint, because you could imagine a situation where it's North Korea. What I say goes. And that means, and I'm saying that deeply, I'm saying whatever I say is right by definition. Right. That's a rough situation.
11 holes in one.
Yeah, exactly.
Do
While
not
inventing
question it.
hamburgers. Yeah. And so as civilization progressed, there was this abstraction of the idea of sovereignty as a principle itself, and that the leader should be subordinate to that. And that seems to be one of the applications of religious thought that's extreme. It's like rule of law, right? It's a similar idea. If you think there's a body of law, but there's a spirit that characterizes that body of law, right? Because it rotates, it's coherent. It rotates around a central axis. Well, the idea in the West is that if you're the king, if you're the president, you're subordinate to that body of law. You're not sovereignty itself. You're subject to something that's beyond you. Well, then the question becomes, well, you want that, obviously, because otherwise you're the guy. And then if you want that, it's like, well, what is that principle of ultimate sovereignty? And that's what I was trying to discover when I went through the biblical stories. It's like, what's the principle of ultimate sovereignty that unites these stories? So
You said before you had a follow-up book.
yeah,
What is it about?
it's about Job and about the
Oh,
Gospels.
some more.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, if you want to keep on this thread, I mean, as a history major, I would love to see a book about all the same things that you're talking about, but get more into like the influences from the surrounding civilizations. Plainly, in the beginning, it's a lot about Egypt.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Abraham.
I did this in the first book I wrote, in Maps of Meaning.
Oh, okay.
I talked a lot about Egypt and Mesopotamia in particular.
Yeah. I mean, like Abraham, he winds up in Egypt, right? Because
Right.
again, not to be always shitting on religion, how bad it is, but they're not really great about women. And among the terrible things they think about women is that if you're barren, it's really the worst thing it can be. I mean, a lot of the patriarchs, chicks, were barren. Abraham is with Sarah. She's barren. So he fucks.
He stays with her, though.
Stays with her, but he fucks the Egyptian maid.
Hagar.
Jacob, I mean, he does have Joseph with the wife, but then he gets with Leah because she's the maid. Where was I going with this?
Oh, you were talking about what would you say, the lack of respect accorded to women in the patriarchal stories. Sarah's a pretty good character. Sarah is a pretty good character. She has her own adventure. You know, and one of the things you have to say about Genesis, the story of Genesis, that I really think is quite miraculous, is that there's an insistence right from the beginning that both men and women are made in the image of God. And that's a hell of a thing for a document that's 5,000 years old. That's a radical thing to say.
She's made out of his rib. What are you talking?
Yeah, but that makes her an equal. She's taken from his side. She's not taken from his head. She's not taken from his feet. She's taken from his side.
Why does that mean anything? What the side? Why?
Well, it's neither up nor down. It's in the middle.
And
they're both of the same. There's a variety of meanings. They're both of the same essence, and there's more to it than that too.
But she's from him.
Yeah, but
I mean, she doesn't exist before him.
Right, but women are also cultural creatures, right? So one of the common characterizations of culture is patriarchal culture, let's say, and women are creatures of patriarchal culture. They're derived from Adam in that manner, and that's part of the deep structural meaning of that story. Because
what does that mean to be a patriarchal creature?
A cultural creature. You're socialized. You're socialized. You're not merely a biological entity.
But should you
right?
be? Should be socialized? I mean, again, not to pile on with the religion, but like the Baptists, a number of denominations in this country follow quite seriously the writings in the New Testament. Women should be subservient to the husband, things that are very out of step with, I mean, even Harrison Butker, I don't think is on the page with all of this, but really out of step with where we are today. I mean, a woman should gracefully submit, I think, are words in the New Testament. I mean, gracefully submit, that is...
Let me throw two sticks in the spokes just for the sake of argument. All right, so this will probably get me in trouble, so we might as well do it. So women are hypergamous. So for maximum sexual arousal, they want men...
Excuse me, Professor Egghead, but could you explain that term for us regular New Jersey denizens who only went 7 semesters?
Yeah. So the average age gap between men and women worldwide for maximal attraction is 4 years. The men are older.
Yeah, completely blown past the limit here. Okay.
Women like men of higher status than they are. Okay, so and that's the thing that predicts male sexual success best is his comparative status.
Yeah.
It's an immense predictor, and it's not the same with regard to women. So what that means, what it appears to mean, is that I'm not making a case for women's female subservience, by the way, but what it does appear to mean that for women to find a man sexually attractive, he has to be of higher status than she is. So what does that imply about their relationship? Does that mean that that's a relationship of equality? Like, I don't think it does.
I mean, yes, you are going to get in trouble for this because people who are guys work for women. The women, their boss is or they're married to someone who makes more money than them. Are you saying that that's going to fuck up their sex life?
It does. The evidence for that's clear, and it increases the divorce rate by a lot.
There's actual evidence for that? What is the evidence?
Well, one of the predictors of domestic violence is disproportionate earnings of the wife in comparison to the husband.
You're saying that when the woman makes more money, the guy loses it and clocks her?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
And we have evidence?
Or maybe she provokes him because she's contemptuous.
Oh, Lord.
Well, either of those are going to get us in trouble.
It's worse than I thought. I'm so glad I never got married and have a good salary. But, you know, I mean, this kind of stuff.
And then, well, we could add another twist to this, too, with regard to our treatment of women in the West. So, you know that half of women now at the age of 30 have no children. Half. And half of them will never have a child. And 90% of them will regret it. So that's involuntary childlessness.
How do we know they'll regret it?
Because there's enough data now to show what happens.
At what age do they regret it?
Well, they start to regret it generally around 30.
30?
Well, because by the time you're 30, 1 couple in 3 has trouble conceiving. And that's defined as trying for a year with no success. So already at 30...
Well, let's get that couple help. No, I'm kidding.
There's lots of technologies to help, but they're not that helpful and they're very expensive.
No. I mean, I mean, I find it always very amusing that the people who desperately want to have a kid very often can't, and the people who are desperately trying not to.
15-year-olds in the back of a car. Yeah, no kidding.
It's like, yeah. But
Arbitrary fate.
I mean, I think we're on different sides of the population debate. I mean, I've always been on the page, let's have less people on Earth. And I think you're on the side of let's have more babies. I never understand that because, I mean, the resources of Earth are finite.
I don't think so.
How could they not be?
Because we get better and better at making more from less.
So we're depending on actually figuring that out before there's more.
Yes, that's right. Well, it's always been that way with people. That
So
is
you
what we
think-
do. That's our niche in a way. We're very good at that. We're
Okay.
very good at it. And
So-
we've been spectacularly successful at that
There's
since
8
the
billion people on
1960s.
8
Yeah.
billion people on Earth.
We're going to
Wha-
peak at 9, by the way.
What do you think we could support? Unlimited? I mean, space-wise, we could have a lot more, of course, because most of the land is empty.
There's no obvious limits. The
But-
limit is energy. And there's no obvious limit to
And
energy.
getting rid of waste?
You can bury waste pretty effectively. We're not going to run out of holes.
Bury waste?
Well, what kind of waste are you talking about?
All kinds. Pollution. What's ruining
People are pretty good at making landfills.
the ocean?
Overfishing mostly.
Overfishing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mostly it's
that's to
overfishing.
feed people who you say there will be
Yeah,
more of.
it's
How
food.
could there be enough fish?
Well, we could stop managing the resource stupidly.
If there's not now enough fish, how could there be?
Well, there's no real limit to agricultural production. It's energy is the limit.
But fish.
Well,
We
we
just have to-
mismanage. Look, we mismanage the ocean, the oceanic resources
Or
terribly.
just give up
There's-
on fish.
Well, we probably destroyed 95% of the oceanic resources already.
And
now
you
they
say-
could probably
but you
recover.
say that
but-
in such a cavalier
no,
way.
it's terrible. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing. And like I did a deep
The
dive
world
into.
can't survive without the ocean.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. It really is. I think the worst thing we've done ecologically is to decimate the fisheries. It's stupid too because it was unnecessary.
Right.
It was unnecessary. Like there's some evidence that already by the dawn of the 20th century that 95% of the oceanic resources were gone and that we've depleted another 95% since then. I mean, the accounts of how much fish there was in the ocean before, when the Europeans first came to North America, it's just stunning. Like schools of cod that were hundreds of feet deep and hundreds of miles long, with the average fish being something approximating 3 feet in length. And so thick that you could lower, buckets into the water and lift them up. And sea turtles that were so plentiful around the Caribbean islands that you could hear them dozens of miles away. Like there was so much plenitude that you just can't believe it when you read it.
Yeah, like the buffalo.
Well, at Cape Ann in Boston, 300 years ago, when there was a nor'easter, the beach, Crane Beach, 7 miles long, would be covered across its entire length with shellfish 3 feet deep. And now, if you go after a nor'easter, there's because I've walked that beach, 3 starfish and a.
You know where there's no cod? Cape Cod.
Yeah, there's no cod in Canada either. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean.
But I don't think there is a limit on. There's no obvious limit on human population sustainability
who we
except
need?
energy.
You know who we need is Jesus, because didn't he create fish out of nothing?
Yeah,
Isn't that one of his miracles?
it is.
And that's reported by St. Paul and his wife, Mrs. Paul, who was into fish. No. But yeah, we need a modern day. Well, what I find interesting
Well,
about
the
that is,
meaning of that story in part is that if we treated each other properly, there'd be more than enough to go around.
yeah.
Right?
No,
Right.
the Jesus story is a beautiful philosophy. I mean, if you take the religion out of it, which Thomas Jefferson tried to do,
Mhm.
he wrote a Bible and took out all the miracles and the bells and the whistles.
Mhm.
But I mean, that was a revolutionary idea. I'm not sure if it's a great idea because of what I was bringing up before about losing the desire to fix things on Earth, but the idea that it gets good in the afterlife, that was pretty new. I mean, that's not really.
It's also something it's a strange thing, Bill, because part of that is an extension of the idea of delay of gratification, which is what would you say? It's a necessary advancement for civilization. It's like defer your reward. That's the definition of maturity. Well, the limit to reward deferral is an afterlife. And so I think, at least in part psychologically, that the notion of an afterlife, the notion of something like a deferred eternal reward, is the logical consequence of deferred gratification.
Yeah.
So now your criticism is still right. I mean, if you defer everything to the afterlife, and you see this with, say, more pathological forms of Islamic fundamentalism, it's like, well, nothing on earth matters at all because everything accrues to you in the afterlife. Like, obviously, that idea can be pathologized. And I would say there might also even be a rule. Like, it might be, I don't know if this is true, but it might be that the best ideas are the ones that can be used by the most evil people for the worst possible purposes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's part of that religious hypocrisy problem.
Well, you are not one of those evil people. I hope that whole thing you said about the oceans.
Ontario College of Psychologists would beg to differ.
That whatever you said about the oceans, you know, I hope they show that in left-wing media because, like,
I did a whole series on oceanic mismanagement.
yeah, but they
no
don't
one
want to
watched it.
They don't want to talk about that because it just doesn't get clicks. Anyway,
No.
I could talk to you all night, but I'm gonna let you back.
Hey, thanks, Bill.
This
It's
was
always a pleasure
always
talking to you.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, and I appreciate the comments on my